Hi, it's Mike Gastineau here for Swinomish Casino and Lodge, one of the title sponsors for iconic Sonics and a great place to get away from the hustle and bustle of Seattle. Just an hour north of the Emerald City and just outside of Anacortes on Highway 20. Beautiful views of Padilla Bay and Mount Baker and fast-paced gaming. Great entertainment, terrific food, a perfect getaway place for you and your friends, the Swinomish Casino and Lodge. When you need your next getaway, go to Swinomishcasinoandlodge.com. Tell them Mike Gastineau sent you, and be sure to check out the Iconic Sonics podcast and our great conversation with several Seattle SuperSonics from the past, the present, and the future.
Truth Plus Media.
Welcome to another edition of Iconic Sonics. I'm your host, Mike Gastineau. We're brought to you by Swinomish Casino and Lodge and Dick's Drive-In Restaurants, and we've got a fun one today. We welcome in for another stint as guest host, Eldridge Recasner, who has been voted by the Iconic Sonics team as having the best background of anybody on the show with all his. What you got some money invested in that Sonic swag collection?
Yes, sir. I don't have no Olden Polynice gear, though. You got to hook me up. Oh, hook me up with something, man.
And that's our guest right there. It's great to see his smiling face again, joining us from Los Angeles, a two-time member of the Sonics, a long career in the NBA, a great career in Virginia, featuring a Final Four performance. Olden Polynice, welcome to the show. You look great. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you for having me on. I feel great. You know, I'm 6 feet above ground.
Well, you're 6 feet 10 inches above ground.
I've always said, man, another day on this earth is a great day. So I don't care what else is going on.
When I was getting ready to doing some reading for the show, and I knew this, but I looked back and read some of the details of it. And 84, that's your first year in college basketball, and you get all the way to the Final Four. What are your memories of that tournament? Because every game you guys played that year was close, including the one you ended up losing to Houston. I mean, they were all right down to the wire. What was that like for a wide-eyed freshman big guy named Olden Polynice?
It was very scary and exciting at the same time, because I was still new to basketball. You know, it was actually my third season. My freshman year at Virginia was my third year of playing basketball. So everything learning experience for me, and I'm going up against all these guys that have the big names, you know, Mike Brown, Joe Klein, Hakeem Olajuwon. I mean, it was just amazing to me. But at the same time, when we finally made the tournament, albeit a lot of people were saying we lucked in because Dick Schultz was part of the NCAA selection committee. He was our athletic. So I said, that's the only reason Virginia got in. And I think that put a chip on all our shoulders to prove that that's not why we got in. And once we got in, we were like, hey, let's make some noise. And we did. We just, we beat Iona, we beat Syracuse, we beat Indiana, we beat Arkansas. And then we got to the Final Four, and it was the so-called rematch between myself and Hakeem Olajuwon. And I'm like, how is that a rematch? It was amazing, it was really amazing. But what's so funny about that whole experience, getting to the Final Four, is that it was played at the Kingdom. And so, playing in the Final Four in Seattle at the Kingdom, I fell in love with the city. I fell in love with everything about it. And I was asked after the game, after we lost, how'd you feel? I said, you know what? I'm going to come back here and play one day. And again, wide-eyed freshman, with a little bit of braggadocio. Yeah, I'm going to come back here and play in Seattle. I didn't know. I just threw it out there. And then a couple of years later, I'm a Sonic.
Eldridge, when did you first cross paths with OP?
A little bit of braggadocio. Come on, OP. You had the Hakeem Olajuwon swag back in the day, man. I wanted to talk about that and what that was like. I remember Olden from 1987, Gas. I was at the University of Washington, so I remember when him and Derek Coleman got drafted. They were young guys, so they used to hang around campus. I don't know if they was trying to hit on the UW honeys or what, but they were around campus all the time. So I remember OP from the very beginning. You know, him and Derek and one of his good friends, that's a friend of mine that I met in '85, Pierre Crockwell. So I think I go all the way back to the beginning with Olden.
Yep. We used to go down there on campus, yes, for the girls.
They only had 15 sisters anyway. Oh, I don't appreciate you coming and taking one of them.
Basketball players. Because, hey, I wasn't that far removed from Virginia. So I was like, hey, let's go down there and hang out. But you know what's so fun? Playing at, Heck Ed?
Yep.
And so it was like, that was so cool. You know, being pro athletes, we just wanted to play basketball. We were still young.
Exactly.
And we would like have practices and then still we'll hang out at Heck Ed. We'll do different stuff, you know, in the spring and summer. That was just our spot. Again, that whole Seattle community, Bellevue, it was amazing being in that atmosphere, man.
You know, Gas, I know we Iconic Sonics, but before we get into his Sonic stuff, I just want to get a chance to go back to the beginning because I think a lot of our listeners and a lot of our viewers might not know that Olden Polynice is actually from Haiti. You know, I used to call him the Haitian sensation. So just talk about your upbringing, man, because me and you did a goodwill mission to Haiti. I think it was 2013 or 14, somewhere in there. I remember you coming over with us, and I remember you guys only having one gym in Port-au-Prince as of 2014. So talk about how you actually got into basketball and how you ended up making it over here to the United States. I think you landed in New York. Talk about that process, man, because even though I'm your friend, I've been knowing you for 30 years. I'm curious to how that all came about as well.
Well, wow, Haiti. You know, it's funny because I was never supposed to play basketball. You know, being born in a third world country, you don't have the best medical conditions. And I was born with a disability. And so for 2 years, the first 2 years actually of my life, I had a cast on, you know, so I had to, they had to reset my feet. So it took me a long time to learn how to walk. And so with that, but I was always like the studious kid and everything else. So I always got good grades. When we came to the US in 1972, again, I'm learning how to speak English. I'm learning how to get along with the kids. Again, nothing about basketball. It wasn't until high school. I was 16 at the time, and I shot up from 6'2" to 6'9".
Wow.
I'm sorry, 6'1" to 6'8". And so it was like, hey, you know, John Carey, my high school coach, is like, hey, do you want to play basketball? I said, I do not know how to play basketball. I'll teach you how to play basketball. Well, it's not up to me, it's up to my parents. So long story short, he went and met with my mom and dad and told them, hey, Mr. and Miss Polynice, if he gets good enough, he can get a scholarship and get a free education. My parents heard that word free, it was a wrap. It's like you playing basketball.
So it wasn't one of these situations where you grew up and went to high school in Port-au-Prince like a Detlef Schrempf or Chris Velp that was from Germany, but they did 1 year of high school here in the state of Washington because they knew they were going to UW. So you moved over to New York, sounds like at around age 13. And that's when you started playing high school ball or started playing basketball.
No, I was 8 years old when we came to New York.
Okay.
I was 8 years old, again, not playing sports of any kind, just learning the ways of the US. And so that was it. So sophomore year, I start learning how to play basketball. Junior year, I'm a starter. I'm all-city, all-American. Senior year, all-American, signed with Virginia. And then, you know, the following year, I'm in the Final Four.
Wow. That's cool, man, because I don't think people know that story. You know, you're a friend of mine. Like I said, I've been knowing you for 30 years and I didn't know that story. And of all places to get thrown into the fire, you go to New York, where I know it's some tough cats. You're
Yes.
a pretty tough dude, though. I got to admit, I've never seen you back down in any type of situation. But as a kid from Haiti that had never played basketball before, that had to be pretty intimidating, hitting the streets of New York.
It definitely was, for many reasons. Again, not knowing the language, not knowing scenarios and situations. And I was getting robbed every day.
Really? You're not talking about at the gas station like I am. You're talking about literally robbed.
Yeah, literally. Give me your lunch money. That was like a thing. And
you was 6'8", man. Come on. You was a big dude getting pumped.
But I'm not a fighter and all that. I don't want to I can handle myself. I just choose not to fight. But the funny thing about it is, in my neighborhood, I grew up in Building 1 in the Polo Grounds, which is directly across the street from Rucker Park.
Oh, wow.
So when I started playing basketball, everybody that was somebody took me into their fold, and they protected me. And so they all became my protectors and teachers. And so they were like, well, we're gonna take care of you because we see you have a bright future. And I had like 100 bodyguards once I started.
Wow. Yeah.
That's one wild thing about the neighborhood. Like, they were at you, like trying to get you to do drugs and this and that. But at the same time, when they saw that you had a positive future, they really became protectors.
That's cool, man. Gas, I want to say, when we did that Goodwill mission with the NBA Retired Players Association, and Olden was over there, man, I got to admit, he was like Michael Jordan. The people loved him, the kids loved him, and it just was an awesome sight to see. We also had Mario Ellie with us, who a lot of the viewers and listeners might not know is Haitian as well. Mario's parents were born in Haiti, but he was raised a lot like Olden in New York City. So I just want to say, OP, for me, man, that was a cool experience to see you get the love and respect over there. And I was glad I was a part of it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was fun, man. Being the first Haitian to play in the NBA, get drafted and all that stuff, it holds a lot of special meaning for me. But at the same time, I knew that I represented more than myself and my family. I represented the whole country. And so I had to do my part. But it was fun. That trip was really amazing. Hey, y'all better be glad I was there. We got through things a lot quicker.
we sure did. But if I remember correctly, you couldn't get back because you left your United States passport or something at home.
Yeah, I left. Oh no, I'm stuck.
But tell the viewers what your title is, because I don't remember. But you're some kind of diplomat for the country of Haiti.
Yeah, I was appointed by the president of Haiti as an ambassador for Haiti, and so I just was going out there bringing business into Haiti, and more like a goodwill ambassador, but it had some special perks, which was kind of cool.
Well, one of the perks saying you can leave your passport at home. We did find that out.
Hey, Olden, I've gotten to know Cliff Averill up here a little bit, a former Seahawk NFL star, and he's of Haitian descent. I have a friend from way back in the day who married a woman who is Haitian, and he has spent a lot of time there. As you look there and as you do the things you can to help, and I'm struck by everybody, I don't know a lot of people, but everyone I know who's got a connection to Haiti wants to help. If they're in a position to help, they want to help. It's a huge question here. I don't know how we could boil it down on a podcast, but do you have hope for things getting better there? The people there have battled poverty and bad medical, and I mean, just on and on, a litany of bad breaks and bad situations. Do you have hope for things getting better when you get down there and you're able to do some things?
Oh, I definitely feel that way. If I didn't, then what would be the point? Things are going to get better at some point in time. It's just been a struggle because right when things are about to get really good, some natural disaster happens. And it's unfortunate that we're located where we are. But at the same time, the pride of the Haitian people is what carries everyone through. Is the fact that we will fight, we will continue to fight and keep it going, because that's pretty much our destiny in a way. It's so funny. It was recently, I'm a big Marvel Comics guy, and I love Loki. It goes back to my childhood. I even named my dog Loki when I was young. So, but one of the scenes in the show is that, they basically say, Loki, this is your lot in life. This is what you're going to do. It's almost like everything's cyclical, but everything's tied to you around the universe. And so I feel the same way with Haiti. Everything throughout history will be tied into Haiti in some way. So none of us can run away from it. Not the Haitians, not the French, not the US, nobody. We will always be linked together in history.
So let's jump back into the basketball side of things and let's kind of fast forward. In 1984, you say to reporters, I'm going to come back here and play one day. Now, all of a sudden, it's the 87 draft. You'd spent a year in Italy, and now you're getting drafted into the NBA. Take us through that day. How long? I don't remember. So how long were you a Bull? Was it an hour? Was it a half hour? How much did you know about what was going on? And what did you think when you found out you were actually going to Seattle?
Okay, so for that answer, I got to go back a little bit. So it's maybe 2 weeks or so before the draft. I've only worked out for the Sonics, the Knicks, and I can't remember, there was one other team, but the Knicks had the 18th pick. So I knew I wasn't going to be that low. And so I get a phone call and it's Bernie Bickerstaff. So I'm like, hey, coach, how you doing? He's like, I'm good. How are you? So I start giving details about my day. I had just had a daughter. So I'm like, yeah, I'm here with my daughter, making it like really like I'm complaining or whatever. And he hangs up the phone. And so I'm like, okay. My agent calls me 2 minutes later. What the hell's wrong with you? Da, da, da. This man, they're about to invest money in you. They don't want to hear your problems. I was like, oh my God, I messed it up. Because I was being open and honest, but it's like, they don't want to hear that. He goes, all they want to know is you're in the gym, working out, and that's it. So I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to get drafted by the team I want to go to. So long story short, we move fast forward to the draft. Now, again, I didn't work out for Chicago. I didn't work out for all these other teams. So when the draft comes, I'm like, I'm going to Seattle because it was basically guaranteed I was going to Seattle with the 5th pick. But when David Stern stood up there and said, with the 5th pick, the Seattle SuperSonics select Scott Pippen, I was like, who the hell is Scott Pippen? So I slumped back down in my chair. I'm about to start crying. I look back at my agent and he's like, he does this gesture, relax, relax. And I was like, all right, go with 6, 7, 8. Chicago Bulls select Olden Polynice. I forgot all about Seattle. I'm about to play with Michael Jordan. But again, it was so cool. But I didn't realize, and they talked about it in The Last Dance, Jerry Krause, they made that deal the night before. It just couldn't be consummated till the following, till the draft. And at that point, again, my first experience with the business of basketball, being traded on draft day. So it was pretty cool. But I ended up going where I expected to go.
I got to ask you this, though, because we had Derek McKee on a couple of weeks ago. And a lot like me, he said he had never heard I've never heard of Scottie called Scott, but he said he had never heard of Scottie Pippen. It sounded like you had never heard of Scottie Pippen either. Had you heard of Scottie before his name was called draft day?
I swear on everything. What I just said earlier was the actual truth. I said to myself, who the hell is Scott Pippen? It wasn't even Scottie then.
Well, and everybody knows he's gone on to be one of the top 50 players in basketball history, one of the top 75 guys. There's been a lot of debate back and forth. During your time with the Sonics, those 4 years that you were here initially after you were drafted, was there any kind of beef when you guys played the Bulls over, people saying, oh, well, we wish we had Scottie, or the Bulls saying, oh, we wish we had Olden Polynice? Because I'm going to tell you, I played against the great Bulls teams with Michael Jordan, and they never really had a dominant big guy, especially a physical guy like you. I remember Bill Cartwright for a while. I remember Will Perdue. What's the other guy that was from? I think he was from Australia or something. So,
Luke
was there
Longley.
ever any beef with you and Scotty on that situation? Maybe wanting to play on the other side?
No, everything happens for a reason. That's how I looked at it. I leave that stuff to the pundits, and fans or fanatics. I with that because, it's like my saying, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. That's pretty much how I ended up playing for Seattle. I had a very good career. I didn't have the career Scottie Pippen had, but I had the same NBA experience. And so to me, that's how I look at it. That's the only way. So all the teams I played on, I'm thankful for. So, he ended up there. So again, I played for the Bulls. Who knows? Maybe they don't win 6 championships. Maybe they do. Maybe they win 10. Who knows? Scotty comes to Seattle. Maybe they win championships. Maybe they don't. Maybe they tank. We just, we'll never know. So everything happened the way it's supposed to happen.
I hear you. I got another question for you. I posed this question on Twitter last night. I was asking people on Twitter who was their all-time favorite Sonic. And I got names all across the board, from Steve Scheffler to Vincent Askew to some of the obvious names like Gary and Sean. But I want to ask you, who was your favorite teammate when you were with the Sonics?
Believe it or not, my man Clement Johnson.
Clement Johnson, he never even really played.
That's my guy. Here's the reason why. I loved all my teammates. I loved Nate. I loved Derek. Derek was my best friend. We were Laverne and Shirley. Dale Ellis, X. I just reconnected with X on Twitter. And so I loved all those guys, Gary, Sean. Clement Johnson took an interest in me, my first year. And he was the best teammate you could ask for. He taught me the rules, how to handle the referees, how to, stay in shape, how to do this. He really did. And we played the same position. So he put the team above everything else. And that always stood out to me. And
I got to be honest, I completely forgot that Clement Johnson was even on the damn team. I got to be, out of all the names, that would have been the last one, I guess. And he sounds a lot like Charles Jones. And I know you remember Charles Jones.
Yeah, I remember.
Was backup center for us in Houston. Yeah, sounds like the same type of guy. Everybody loved him.
To see guys like that, yeah, I had fun with all the other guys. Like I said, it was a great team. I loved that about the Sonics, my freshman year. Me and Derek, we're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. Hey, we're having fun. These guys really took us in, but Clement was the guy for me, and again, I appreciate that. Now, I'll say this about the Sonics. We were the partyingest guys. Man, but I loved it. When we went out, the whole team went out. It wasn't one.
Well, guess what, every time I'm down on Jackson Avenue, man, I can see you in front of celebrities in the Hollywood Underground. So you ain't got to tell me I saw you out all the time.
Well, all out. And that's the best part, E. Like on the road, we all traveled together. At home it was different, but on the road we looked out for one another. And that's a rare thing. Yeah. You don't see that in NBA circles, where the whole team will just go out and party and watch each other's backs, so that was I really appreciate those times.
Olden Polynice is our guest on Iconic Sonics. Our thanks to Swinomish Casino and Lodge and Dick's Drive-In Restaurants, Part 2, coming up next. Iconic Sonics is proudly supported by Swinomish Casino and Lodge, and they're proud partners with Iconic Sonics. They're located on beautiful Padilla Bay, just north of Seattle. Casino, lodge, dining, entertainment, and more. Swinomish Casino and Lodge provides a perfect getaway for relaxation. A full-service entertainment destination, including a 98-room luxury lodge, multi-purpose event center, and casino, open daily from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. with a great mix of slot machines and Las Vegas-style table games. And for the food connoisseur, check out the 13 Moons Dining Experience, one of the finest in the area, a beautiful restaurant with cuisine designed to enhance the flavors of the Northwest. Swinomish Casino and Lodge. Check out the best casino in the area with the most outstanding customer service, offering a luxuriant, state-of-the-art experience while maintaining and upholding the cultural identity of the Swinomish tribe. Swinomish Casino and Lodge. Find out more at SwinomishCasinoandLodge.com. That's SwinomishCasinoandLodge.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. Iconic Sonics is fed by Dick's Drive-In Restaurants. What can I tell you about Dick's food that you don't already know? Probably nothing. They're a Seattle legend for serving great burgers, great fries, great shakes. What I can tell you that you might not know is Dick's also has a cool t-shirt now that salutes the 95-96 NBA Finals Sonics team. Take a look at the Sonics t-shirts available through Dick's at Dick's Drive-Ins, their Twitter feed at Dick's Drive-Ins. You'll see the photos. You'll buy the shirt. You'll be happy. Thanks to Dick's Drive-In Restaurants for the support on Iconic Sonics. And our nonprofit sponsor on Iconic Sonics is the Run Freely Foundation, a 501c3 organization founded by our friend Kenny Main, who raises money to help financially support veterans who need limb salvage, medical care, and rehabilitation. Years ago, Kenny suffered a catastrophic ankle injury, and after years of pain, he found relief with treatment in 2017 that got him both walking and running again pain-free. With that discovery, Kenny wanted to help others in pain, and the Run Freely Foundation was born to help provide the care he received to those who cannot afford to cover its costs. You can find out more and get involved with this great organization at runfreely.org. The Run Freely Foundation, proud sponsor of Iconic Sonics. All right, on we go with Olden Polynice. We were talking about partying and having a great time, and you played on those Sonic teams in the late 80s, where there were a lot of big personalities, yours included. I mean, X is there. Nate, you mentioned. Gary comes in late. Sean is there. Dana Barros. A lot of guys who are going to have great careers. And you're out and you're mentioning to us that, God, the team liked to party together and we like to have fun together. How devastating was it then to get the news that you were being traded to the Clippers? You said you already had realized basketball was a business. You got traded 5 minutes after you got drafted. But was it tough to leave Seattle and this team of people that you felt so close to?
Oh, definitely. Oh, my goodness. I still remember that night. It's like our first kid. So we're in New York City the night before we played the Knicks. And we're about to go out, actually. We're in New York City. We're about to hang out. And my phone rings, and Casey Jones is the coach at the time. And he says, "Can you come up to the room?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." I've never been called to Casey's room before, or Bernie when he was the coach. So I'm like, oh, okay. And we sit down, and he's like, "Hey, man, I gotta let you know we made a trade." And I was like, "Huh?" "Yeah, we traded you to the Clippers." But what I loved about Casey, the gentleman that he was, rest in peace, he's like, "We tried every way not to make this trade." And that made me feel good, and then he's told me, who I was being traded for, Benoit Benjamin and such and such. It's like, there was no way we were going to make the trade, because the Clippers said they wanted you involved in the trade. They really wanted you. And again, another lesson of knowing your value and knowing who wants you. So once I heard that, I kind of said, okay, well, that's what it is. But what was so cool is afterwards, I leave the room and I'm thanking everybody. I go to my room, I just start bawling. I held it in there as best as I could, trying to be tough. But as soon as I got back to my room, I was, so it was rough. That was worse of a trade for me, because that was really my first trade, real trade. The draft was just whatever it was. But 4 years in Seattle, loving the community, being involved in the community, and having everything there, that was home to me. It hurt.
Guys, that's funny, because as a young guy, you would think we all would love going to LA, one of the greatest cities in the world, much less the United States. But the Clippers back then was like, there was a saying, "It ain't hell, but you can see hell from there." I mean, it was terrible. So talk about Donald Sterling a little bit. We all know what happened with Donald Sterling. I've fortunately or unfortunately had a chance to play for the Clippers at the end of my career. And when I signed with them, I said to myself, yep, this is it. This will probably be your last team, because that's how everybody looked at the Clippers. And I got to share this story, Gas, because it's hilarious. So I had been released from Charlotte, and Mark Bartelstein was my agent. I'm like, hey, Mark, I still want to play. What do you see out there? He's like, man, I'm looking. And then all of a sudden one day I get a call and he said, the Clippers want to sign you. And I said, the Clippers? He said, yeah. I said, well, how did that happen? He said, man, you're not going to believe it. He said, but Elgin Baylor called me about another player who I didn't represent. And I said, well, how about Eldridge Recasner? And he said, okay. So that's how I got on the Clippers. And I remember as a kid, my dad always talked about the Big O, Elgin Baylor, Willie Mays, Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis. He always talked about those guys as the greatest athletes. And I remember I was so excited to sit down in Elgin Baylor's office and sign my contract. And he said, I want you to practice. I want you to practice today. So I said, okay. He said, we got to put somebody on the IR. So I said, all right. So he called his secretary and said, I think Harold Jameson was on the team. He said, Nancy, what was Harold Jameson's last injury? She said, he had a knee contusion. Well, tell him he got another one. You can practice today. Man, the Clippers organization was like a circus, man. I just remember. But tell me some of your experiences with the Clippers and your thoughts on Donald Sterling.
Oh, man, that's awesome. But yeah, so myself, the Clippers, I get down there. Again, I leave New York and fly to Dallas. I met up with them in Dallas. And so, but I couldn't play. So I get there, hanging out and all that. I'm seeing them. I knew who the Clippers were. We all did. Sports arena, like the old jokes, you buy you a $10.
Stop right there. Stop right there. For the listeners and the viewers, this was the sports arena. At the time, there was no Staples or Crypto. The Lakers are obviously playing at the Forum where Magic did a lake show. The Clippers are in the sports arena. And I swear to God, you guys, there's rats running around the arena. Am I lying on? It was a different kind of place, man.
Conversation. You could hear literally anybody's conversation that they were having. And it was that kind of thing. So I finally, we get off the road. I get back to LA. I'm staying at a hotel and all that good stuff. So now here's the funniest part, and it will tie who Donald Sterling is. Now, granted, I've had all my experiences with Donald Sterling have been really positive, he to me. So I try to treat everybody as they treat me personally. But I still got to see how they treat others as well. But that's okay. I'm in the locker room. We had just won our game. And it's my first game in LA. We win. Everybody's excited. I'm like, yeah. My mentality is I'm coming from the Seattle SuperSonics, who were in the playoffs every year I was there. And so I have that mentality like, hey, I'm a playoff guy. We had just knocked out the Rockets, in the series the year before, all that good stuff. So I'm like, yeah, I know about the playoffs. You guys haven't been in the playoffs. So I'm like, hey, we have a chance to make the playoff. We're like 30 games out of first. But my mentality is, mathematically, we're still in. They start laughing at me. I'm like, okay. So the game ends. I'm in the locker room. I'm sitting there. My jersey's off. Everybody takes off running. So I'm like, whoa, is this some Clipper thing that I don't know about? So I'm not really paying attention. Get my shoes off, put the ice bag on. I'm chilling. All of a sudden, Donald and some of his cohorts come in, right? My right hand to God, my right hand to God. He walks in with these two gentlemen. He stands on this side of me, and the other two guys are standing right here in front of me. And he puts his left hand on this shoulder. He goes, wow, how you doing? Good to see you. I said, how you doing, Mr. Sterling? Welcome to the team. And as we're talking, he's just squeezing my shoulder. He's squeezing my shoulder. He goes, and then he slaps it like, wow, look at this buck. Oh! Did he just say buck? I swear to God. I don't know if I should punch him. I'm just like, okay, hey, that's the owner of the team, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, look how muscular and strong he is, just rubbing on my shoulders. I felt so disgusted. And so I just like, okay, when is this going to be over? But as I'm thinking all this and he moves over a little bit, I see all the players, standing there peeking, laughing. They had set me up. They knew him. He was a touchy-feely guy. He was like always making these comments. And it was crazy to me. He came in one time with these girls and he tried to take them in the shower. He was walking the women all the way to the shower. Eldridge had to run out. Donald, you can't do that.
Wow.
So that was my Clipper experiences.
So, and that's another thing. I was talking earlier about the threads that run through things, and like everybody I've met from Haiti wants to help Haiti. Everyone I've met who played for the Clippers has stories like that. It's like, it wasn't something that was made up. It was really a crazy place, right?
Dude, he's like, look at this buck. And I was, buck?
It's unreal, Gas, because you hear the stories and as former players, me and Olden, you know the organizations that are bad, but when you get there and you see it, you go, nah, I see why they're bad. I was there in 2002. That was my last year in the league, and I remember Alvin Gentry was our coach, and I remember Alvin Gentry calling plays for a certain guy, and we would come out of the timeout, and whoever get the ball would just shoot it. So I was like, what the hell is going on? Because, the other teams I played on, Atlanta Hawks with Lenny Wilkins, Houston Rockets with Rudy Tomjanovich, that would never happen.
Yeah. So
I remember after one of the games approaching Elton Brand, I'm like, man, what's going on? Every time Alvin calls a play, you guys get the ball and whoever gets it just don't give a damn. They shoot it. He said, well, man, I'm going to be honest with you. He said, everybody feels like they got to put up some numbers to get out of here, because they don't think Donald Sterling is going to play him. Because Donald Sterling had a reputation as being a cheap owner. So that's the way they played. Everybody was just trying to go for numbers. And I think you're absolutely right, OP. The Clippers organization was just different, man. I had played in some high-level playoff contending teams. And when you got there, it was just in that era, just like there weren't any expectations. But the craziest part, OP and Gas, is that 2002 year they had Mike Olowokandi, Elton Brand, Lamar Odom, Darius Miles, Quentin Richardson. They had a squad, man. They had a squad. They beat the Lakers twice with Shaq and Kobe. So it wasn't always the fact that they didn't have talent, but it just was an organization that was ran a little bit different, no doubt.
Yeah. I'll say this right quick about the Clippers, and I've been talking about this a lot on our shows. They need an exorcism.
That's it.
It just needs exorcism. They got to exorcise all the demons. They got to get up in there. They have to, because you look at them now, no matter what's going on, like the play-in, they didn't even make the play-in. And they had a 12-point lead. There's always going to be something about the Clippers that will keep them from success. And I think it's how the ghosts of Clippers past are still
we could stay in LA forever, but another team that I think, and people think of your biggest run was with Sacramento, but before that happens, you go out to Detroit for a couple of years. It must have been interesting. I mean, on the one hand, they weren't very good teams. They were on the downside, but it was still those big personalities. Isaiah's still there. Bill Lambier's still there. There's enough of those kind of guys that the remnants of the bad boys were still there. What was Detroit like for you for a couple of years?
Oh, wow. Detroit was great. Again, still learning basketball. I believe Detroit helped me more as a team than anywhere else, because they were 2 years removed from the championship. And I'm sitting with Isaiah Thomas. I'm sitting with Joe Dumas, Lambier, Dennis Rodman. And, it's just amazing to me having these guys as teammates. And Isaiah took a liking to me. Dennis took a liking to me, which was rare, because Dennis didn't really like too many people at that point in his life. He was a loner. And so we became friends, and I was really like the only person he confided in, which again, it was weird because I didn't know him up until that point other than playing against him. So when I got there, he just, I became a sounding board. And that was like really cool to know that I had that kind of effect on him. But he helped me tremendously with my rebounding, getting to see him on a daily basis, because the following year, I was in the top 3 in rebounding, the leaders. And I finished, tied with Akeem Olajuwon, number 2. And so, and that was all due to Dennis, teaching me angles, stuff that I thought I knew, but I really didn't know. And then to see how the Detroit team, they had a thing called hanging your ego, meaning once we walk out the locker room to get on the court, all our egos, we hang them up on the wall. And so there's no ego. It's just all about the team. Now, with that being said, playing with Bill Laimbeer may have been the most horrific experience because I always wanted to hit him.
Like everybody else.
I did as an opponent. I was the guy that, forced the mask. I broke his cheekbone, playing for Seattle. And so the year before, I broke his cheekbone, and I'm sorry, a couple of years before, I broke his cheekbone. And so when I got there, we talked about it and whatever, but here's the one thing I remember about that team. So we're playing, and it goes to show you how crazy NBA players are. As far as like now and back, back then and now. We get into a fight. We, meaning the team, but it was Isaiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer get into a fight. Isaiah punches Laimbeer and breaks his hand. Laimbeer has a big knot on his head. So Isaiah goes to the doctor. They put a cast on. He's pretty much done for the year. He meets us up. He meets us on the plane. He still travels with us and everything. And here we are, Isaiah with his broken hand, Laimbeer with the knot on his head, sitting next to each other. Me on this side, Joe Dumars on the other side. We're playing cards. And a couple of hours earlier, they just had a fight. So they were able to put all that stuff aside. It was a weird dynamic of how we could fight each other and still be friends and still be teammates. And Detroit taught me that. It's like, hey, you can compartmentalize, you can, separate things. You don't have to, everything doesn't have to all run together. And I really appreciate that about the Pistons.
It's interesting because you talk about, again, that team with the big personalities, and by the time you get there, they're kind of on the downslide, and yet they still maintained that edge, didn't they? That bad boy attitude.
Oh, they definitely did.
They weren't winning games, but they were a tough out every night. When you played them, you knew you were going to have a tough time.
Oh, it was going to be a battle every night, man. Like you said, we were not winning a lot of games, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't make the All-Star team that year, because I was number 2 in the league in rebounding. And I was averaging about 14 points a game. Those were good enough numbers, 14 points, 13 rebounds, good enough numbers to, most years make it if they were winning. But again, not winning curtailed that. But they were still the Detroit Pistons. They were still the bad boys. When we walked into the arenas, it was still the boos. And that helped me too. I wasn't used to that. I mean, I play for Seattle. Yeah, we got a little sprinkle of booze here and there. You had Dale Ellis knocking down shots, Tom Chambers, X. But it was more from a, friendly team competition boo. With the Piston, it was I hate your guts boo. And that was a difference for me because I wasn't used to that. I was like, Laimbeer, he relished in that. Me, I was like, I don't know if I really want to be booed right now the way they boo.
I got to admit, though, I think style of play and fit-wise, I think I like you there better than anywhere else because I've just always seen you as that kind of guy. I don't know if you know it. I know you're a nice guy, but you just always look mean as hell, man.
Rick Mahorn and Maurice Lucas taught me that.
Yeah.
I had both of them at a camp, Pete Newell. So Pete Newell always had the big man camp in Hawaii. So I got to meet both of these guys at the camp, and they both pretty much said the same thing. Hey, you got to walk, you got to look mean, act mean, even though you could be the nicest guy in the world. And the only way to stay out of fights is to make them think you're going to kill them.
How about that? That's classic.
Well, from that, I'll go ahead and ask. I know that you're doing some cool things now. You've stayed involved with the game. It's funny, the game came to you later than it does for a lot of young kids, but once you got into it, boy, great high school career, Virginia, NBA. And now I think there's a couple things going on. I know you've got a place where people come and work out, and you do that, and then you're also doing some actual coaching, right?
Yes, I've been coaching for the last 15 years. I've coached every level that you could think of. I've coached G League or D League back then. I've coached college. I've coached women's college. I've coached high school women's. I've coached high school boys. I've done it all. And I'm coaching in the TBL, which is the basketball league. And as a matter of fact, your co-host here is going to be joining me next year as a coach. And so it's been fun. The league's been involved in play for about 5 years now. And we're coming up, we have a couple guys that are really solid players that have gotten NBA looks that are on NBA rosters. So again, the coaching was a natural progression for me because I've always loved that. And it's not about, just guards coaching. I think everybody, if you're a basketball player and you really practice your craft, you can teach it to somebody else. And I've always been, because of how I learned, how fast it took me to get to where I am, I can teach that to people. And I've basically put that into a program where I can show guys how to, quicken the progression and quicken the your output. And so to me, that's all I've been trying to do. Like my son right now, who's 7'1", and he's only been playing 4 years. But his progression, it was the same timeline as myself. And now, we had the Cleveland Cavaliers come scout him recently, doing his JUCO season. And he's going to be playing at Long Beach next year. And now, granted, I never had those skill sets that he has. I wish I did. I would have been a Hall of Famer.
Well, wait a minute. Oh, he's only been playing 4 years. What did you send it back to Port-au-Prince, Haiti? Where's he been, man?
Play basketball. I never wanted to force my kids, especially my boys, to play basketball because I played. So I told everybody, hey, if and when you want to play basketball, let me know. So his first 2 years, he played lacrosse. And then the following year, he played volleyball.
7-foot lacrosse player, really?
He wasn't 7 feet then. He's 7'1". Okay. So at around 6'6", he was still playing volleyball and lacrosse. And then the following year, his junior year, he goes, Dad, I want to start playing basketball. I was like, all right, yes, I'm all right. Because I wanted him to come to me. I did the same thing with his older brother. Come to me if you want to learn how to play basketball. I'm not going to force it. And now he's highly recruited, signed with Long Beach. Like I said, he's on the radars. He shoots 40 from the three-point line. He's a 90% free throw shooter. So I know damn well he ain't getting none of that from me.
Yeah, wait a minute.
I already came to that conclusion. Yeah, I haven't told Gas. So Gas, yeah, we're gonna have a professional minor league team next year called the Seattle SuperHawks. And I'm letting you know right now, baby, we're coming in flying high to San Diego to take you guys down next season with a mutual friend, Pierre Crockwell, that was real tight with Olden when he was here in Seattle. I met him at UW in 1985. Him and his wife, Jackie McCormick, purchased the team. We had a chance to go to Syracuse, New York last weekend for the TBL All-Star game. So I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to coaching against you next season, OP.
Get ready.
I'm looking forward to it as well, but I just wish you well.
Let me ask a question for both of you, and Olden, I'll start with you, and then you guys can talk about it. But when you get into these kinds of things, there are, I'm assuming, influences and people you think back on. Oh, you and I were talking before we got started today. That Virginia team you played on in 1984, Terry Holland is the head coach. The assistants are Jim Larinaga, who's gone on to have great success at George Mason and now at Miami. Jeff Jones, who ended up, I think he might have replaced Holland when he left. Dave Odom, who went to Wake Forest and had a great run. I mean, I don't know how much that staff influenced you. You were only 18, but you're a coach now, and you think back on that. Wow, what a room full of basketball minds that was.
Oh, definitely. And I learned from every last one of them. I learned from Terry Holland how to be poised and composed. Not to be such a yeller. I've learned how to be a yeller from Larry Nagel. I've learned how to be in the middle with Dave Odom. And so they all had a place in my career, just like Pete Newell did, just like Casey Jones did, just like Jerry Sloan did, just like Bernie Bickerstaff did. All those guys, I still run some of the plays I run now, Seattle plays, And so to me, I had great teachers. That's why I tell people I had Hall of Fame coaches, and if I didn't learn something from that, I would have wasted a whole bunch of years. And so to me, I'm so thankful to these guys because they were great teachers, great motivators, and I'm just trying to pass it along now to the next generation.
And then, Gas, I think my experience was just the opposite. Obviously, I didn't play in the Final Four at the University of Washington. I didn't play for what I consider great coaches, Hall of Fame coaches. I wasn't drafted. I took the role less travel. So one of the reasons I'm excited about joining the TBL and the minor leagues is I'm the poster child for hoop dreams.
Right,
I went from undrafted. I think I might have been the last pick in the CBA, to win an MVP, getting called up and playing for the world champion Houston Rockets. So I just want to share my experience. And if I can help a few guys make a little bit of money overseas, or maybe even if the stars line up right, make it to the NBA, that's what it's all about for me. I think at this point in our lives, me and O, it's just about the love of the game. It won't be the NBA, but for me, basketball is basketball. I don't care if I'm coaching 6th grade AAU, I'm coaching in the G League, even if I was a coach in the NBA, basketball is basketball, and I get a thrill out of every level. I won't say the NBA for me was more fun than the CBA or more fun than college or more fun than hell than even going down to Green Lake and hooping in the summertime. I know O used to come down there too. I mean, when you love the game, you just want to be a part of it. And I'm just thankful that I have a chance to be a part of it again.
Olden, what kind of coach are you on the sidelines? Are you real active? Are you a yeller? You mentioned yelling. Are you a guy that gets a technical foul from time to time? And what kind of coach will Eldridge be? Give me a scouting report on this guy you're going to be facing next year. How can you possibly outcoach this guy?
Well, first of all, I am a yeller, but it's all based on situations. If you keep making the same mistakes over and over, I'm going to yell at you. But as long as you're not making the mistakes, I don't have nothing to yell at. So that was, but at the same time, I believe in teaching while I'm coaching. And I want these guys to be in the best position that I can put them in and that they can put themselves in. And so I definitely demand a lot from my players because a lot of the players that I have in the TBL, they've never really been coached. And so they think yelling is you actually yelling, but it's more teaching because again, if you're doing, like I always say, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, why would I yell at you? That's why I tell all these guys, no coach has ever cut a player. A player cuts himself, And so that's how I look at it. I put the onus on them to be better. But with E,
I gotta hear this.
Guy, man, E's such a good guy. I think the league's gonna eat him up and spit him out.
He's taking me as soft, guys. Let me just say this. The word on the street is Olden Polynice is a black Bobby Knight. He's throwing chairs in practice, cussing the kids out. Oh, no. It's going to be fun, though, man. I can't wait. I think it's going to be a great time. I really do. I'm looking forward to it.
No, I was saying he's going to do well. He's going to definitely do well. He's going to come in with the experience and the cachet of being a former NBA player. But you're right, E. Your story is along the lines of TBL players. And I think that will resonate a lot with those guys. Just like mine resonate with them, but it's more from the beginning, of how, hey, I didn't know any of this stuff. And I had to put the work in. And so, we both have, something that we can share with these guys. But I do believe you'll do well. You're just not going to beat us. But
I'm just letting you know right now, OP, we shooting high and letting it fly, baby. We trying to shoot 43s a game, so you better extend your defense, partner.
E, that's the stuff we do now. E, we're averaging almost 130 points a game.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
E,
Sounds like I got to work on my defensive drills.
the last 3 games by an average of 30+ points. Come on, man. This is what we do.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Warriors of the TBL.
Tell you what I got to do. I got to get a hold of my guy and get the over the first time you guys meet. It sounds like defense is just going to be a concept. We're gonna throw it and go, man.
That's right.
Olden, you came here in 98, 99 for a year after George had left with Paul Westphal. And that was a strange year. It was the lockout year and just there was a lot of stuff going on. But even in that year, and I know in your first 4 years, you were a fan favorite up here. The Seattle fans loved you. You had a big personality. You still do. Colorful guy, hard worker. I know that, and you mentioned it earlier. The feelings were mutual. But your Seattle time, and I know again, I don't know. Do you think of yourself more as a Sacramento King because you were there for a long time, or I mean, as you look back on it, what team do you identify with the most?
Listen, I identify as an NBA player. I had the luxury and the pleasure of playing for some amazing franchises. All of them really were great, and I learned from each one. Seattle is closest to my heart in a lot of ways because it was my first team. The first 4 years of my career in Seattle. So the community, like I said, really took to me, and that's why I think I played as hard as I did. Because I always wanted to give the fans, their money's worth. I wasn't going to be a 30-point scorer or even a 20-point scorer, but I was going to work hard every night. And that's all I could give them, was that hard work ethic. And so, but when I got to Sacramento, I spent my longest tenure in Sacramento. All my kids were in Sacramento. So again, it holds a special place in my heart. So. Sure. I guess the best way to describe it is like when people always ask me, what was your favorite team to play for? I would always tell them the one that was paying me.
I know that's right.
Yeah, as long as I had a contract and I was working, I was thankful and happy. So I appreciate every last one of them.
Well, it's great of you to do this for us, Olden, and I'm glad you've been connected with the game forever, and you're still passing along your wisdom and your knowledge for it. That's cool. It's great to see. We can't wait to see you two go coaching each other next year. That'll be fun. Olden, thanks a lot for doing this, man. Great to see you again, and all the best to you.
Thank you so much, Gas. I really appreciate it. Thank you for reaching out. This was definitely a blast. Thank you so much.
Yeah, OP, I really appreciate it, man. I think the fans are going to enjoy it. Like Gas said, people still remember you out here. They still love you, and I appreciate you coming on, man. I think you're going to get some great feedback from this podcast.
All right, awesome.
Our guest is Olden Polynice, and thanks to him, my co-host is Eldridge Recasner. I'm Mike Gastineau. This is Iconic Sonics. You can get more information at iconicsonics.com. And thanks, as always, to Swinomish Casino and Lodge and Dick's Drive-In Restaurants. We'll see you next time on Iconic Sonics.